Hello everybody and welcome to Pacific City, Oregon for Blowsion Surf Slam. The world's greatest watercraft freeriders and racers converge along the Oregon coast in conditions that only these top professionals can perform and survive. The head-to-head competition in wicked and unpredictable waves serves up a contest unlike any other. A truly international field, these riders are judged not only on their surfing ability, but their epic aerials that they throw down and surf that can only be described as treacherous. We invite you to join our 40 riders from around the world as they display talents that are both mind-blowing and artistry in motion. This is watercraft freeriding at its best. All the action from the Blowsion Surf Slam starts right now.
You know, coming out today and having a ride like that, even with my face messed up how it is, feeling good.
Upon arriving along the Oregon coast, the beach was under sunny skies but cool temperatures. But the brief sunshine we took in on the first day in qualifying was deceptive. The waves were definitely pumping, and early on, it had its effect on some riders, thrashing them about the Oregon coast. Mother Nature made her presence known, and the riders took notice.
Pretty big out there, but we're used to it in Oceanside, and it's just a good time.
Yeah, the swell here is so powerful. You wait all year for an event like this, and it's one of the best there is.
In the qualifying rounds, we witnessed some great riding. The excitement was already building, and the intensity of having the best riders in the world all together on the same beach at the same time would result in a great Blowsion Slam Fest. So how does this break down? For the most part, it's pretty simple. Our field of freestyle riders go head-to-head in a double elimination format. The rider that surfs the waves the best and has the most impressive aerial assaults advances into the next round, eventually leading to a two-man showdown in the final. And just like in any other action sport, the riders' fate are decided by a panel of judges. For an in-depth look into what the judges are looking for, we caught up with the head judge, Jimbo Andrews.
The judging format for freeride watercraft differs from freestyle watercraft of flat water in that we record 50% of the athlete's score is his surfing or her surfing skills, and the other half are their tricks or their big wave jumping skills.
Coming into an event like this, you guys have seen these riders so often in the past. Is there a favorite coming in, and if there is, how do you judge so you're not biased? Because it's very subjective.
Yeah, as a judge, you really have to take your personal relationships aside and focus on the rider and how they're riding that day.
Well, what separates a really good run as opposed to a terrific run?
Well, the difference between a good run and a great run is really the decision making. And if you'll notice, some of the higher scoring athletes, they're always on the gas. When you're connecting a small wave to a big wave and you actually use that small wave to do a trick, not just hop over it, that kind of sets the pace for a high score. The IFWA, what they provide is a rule book that all the athletes have access to throughout the entire year. And prior to each event, judges like myself are made available to the riders. They can come up to them and say, hey, what are you looking for? And we say precisely, we're looking for degree of difficulty, the maneuvers that are conducted at the most critical part of the wave. We're looking for amplitude, how big and how much volume is in that trick, and then our overall impression. So when an athlete's looking for a good score, they have to go out there, stay on the gas the whole time. They have to go as big as they can, and they have to use the entirety of each wave.
The riders certainly have a great deal to think about. Their main focus is the changing conditions of the Oregon coast, and early on, a number of riders took that challenge and performed well as the judges and spectators took notice. The efforts of Zack Bright, Jake Montadon, and Taylor Curtis were definitely impressive. Christian Young let it be known that he is the future of the sport, and for local fan favorite Darren Anderson, he would have a rather unfortunate qualifying round that could very well take him out of the competition. We'll tell you more about that and introduce you to the man behind the Blowsion Surf Slam. This incredible event from Pacific City, Oregon continues right after this. The Blowsion Surf Slam from Pacific City, Oregon is being brought to you by Blowsion. the best choice for high-performance parts and custom paint. By Hertz Equipment Rental. Find reliable tools for your needs. Rent from Hertz. And by Hydro Turf, performance traction products for your watercraft.
Regulate the mind. Regulate the ears. Regulate.
There were some crazy waves coming out there.
Regulate the fear. Regulate the mind. Regulate.
Get it, dude.
Regulate your story. Regulate the fear.
I say it every time, it's tough out there.
Regulate.
Welcome back to the Blowsion Surf Slam as we're coming to you from Pacific City, Oregon. The conditions continue to change as the swell is thrashing about. Let's take a look at some action from our earlier heats as the riders took to the Oregon coast with a great deal of excitement as this annual event brings out the best from the best in the sport. Sunny conditions were not the case as the waves were consistently inconsistent, which proved to be a challenge. Prior to the quarterfinals, an excellent heat pitted the future of the sport, Christian Young, up against the veteran Taylor Curtis. It was a close heat that saw Taylor Curtis advance to the next round. For Christian, he had fun and was gracious and respectful in defeat.
I mean, it was pretty fun. I mean, it was the most fun run I've pretty much ever had riding with this guy. Such an inspiration. If I didn't have any of these guys, I wouldn't be doing what I'd be doing now. They push me beyond my limits, and I keep going, keep progressing. Without these guys, I don't know where I'd be now.
Look for great things ahead for Christian Young, and the respect was free-flowing as one of the best in the sport also had good things to say about the young gun he just edged out to move forward in the competition.
Well, I think the world of him. I think Christian is our future, and I am stoked to ride with Christian and see the level he's brought it. I kept looking over out there and just saw him hucking that thing. And I'll tell you what, these are not easy conditions to go out there and ride like that. And that kid rips. I'm stoked to be out here. I felt like it was a bit of a rough run for me, but might be doing some wrenching here in a few minutes. But yeah, it's fun because we go out and we're competing against each other, but we're having fun.
Sometimes fun is deceiving, as Frenchman Pierre Maxime found out when his ski gave him trouble and he gave it a swift kick. It worked for a moment.
I landed on the back and I think I broke the nozzle and the cable, string cable in the same time, so long time to come back to the shore and big waste of time, so that's it. You can't do anything against that, it's just yeah.
It was a tough break for Pierre, but good for Jake Montadon, a veteran of 10 years riding. Jake took advantage of the inside waves to rack up as many points as he possibly could. Surfing is half the score, and Jake made it work for him.
No, it's really unpredictable out there. It's up and down, there's a set, and it's flat, just bumpy everywhere. So I think just make it work with what you got, you know. So it was good, I had fun. End of the weekend, starting to get tired, so it was good. Thanks.
Another great free rider is former high school wrestler Mark Gomez. His strategy of surfing for his points paid off as he explained the conditions.
The swell here is so powerful. It changes rapidly. There could be a wave inside of a wave. It's hard to explain, but it really eliminates you being able to set up much on the inside here. The midsection comes and goes. The back section is absolutely huge. I mean, you have to be just out of your mind like some of these other guys are to hit that stuff.
Well said, and one of those out-of-your-mind guys could very well be Taylor Curtis. Somehow he was able to survive this double-digit nosedive into the shallow Oregon coast. Of course, Taylor would gather himself and ride away. Well, one rider that was ripping early and often was Zack Bright. A great ambassador for the sport of freeriding, Zack expressed his feelings about the camaraderie between the riders in this sport.
I've never really seen anything like it to me. Everybody's been really open, and you know, it's a kind of a trip because I've been doing it for 4 years, so I've kind of I'm like in the high school class, you know, but there's a lot of new riders as well, and we pass that on, you know. It's just a really humble group of guys and really open to new people, you know, and because, you know, a lot of people don't understand how fun it is, and once you get out there and we get new people out, everybody has a blast, and the progression just keeps going higher and higher and higher.
One of the reasons why the sport of freeriding is so popular and continues to grow is guys like John Dady. He's the brainchild behind the Blowsion Surf Slam and has been coming to this Oregon coast for years. We've talked about the riders, but what about the conditions that the Oregon coast presents?
We have to be adaptable to the conditions. That's kind of one of the parts of being an Oregonian, and actually anybody that lives on the West Coast. It's always a challenge, and as my friend Darren Anderson, who's a pro rider here, says, everything looks bigger, better, bigger. So yesterday, we had big surf, but we also had big rain. So wind, little challenging environment, but that ends up making why these guys are the professional riders they are.
They certainly have a knack for adapting to the conditions, but it's what they ride that makes a difference on an everyday basis.
Well, the equipment, and I'm what's considered an old man in this sport at 43, but the equipment that we all started with back in the, literally the mid 80s was not very high-end stuff. I'm talking as pretty much a standard out-of-the-box stand-up Kawasaki jet ski. Now we have conditions and equipment that are basically built specific to the sport. So carbon fiber components, billet aftermarket parts, and that's a lot of what we do at Blowsion, is basically kind of adapt the equipment to these kind of conditions. Because this kind of surf is the kind of stuff that destroys parts and bodies and bones. So we end up having to adapt to that. You take a stock watercraft off the dealership floor, it's not going to survive out here. There's a certain amount of stuff you have to do.
Between the ski and the rider, there's many elements that have to come together. There's no constant, especially when it comes to the conditions and what might be called the course, as no two waves are alike, nor do they come or exist from an exact spot every time.
Whereas like a motocross bike, the guy that's the third jump, he's been on it twice before. Out here, that jump just changed and moved a different direction. Now that can be great, or that can result in a really gnarly wipeout, and we'll see some of that obviously out here.
With that said, I asked John to explain the Blowsion Surf Slam in 3 words.
3 words to describe Blowsion out here and this whole weekend is, I think the first word is aggro, the second word is aggro, and the third word is aggro, because you have to be core to be out on this beach. Whether it's sunny or not, the coast is always a challenge, so we're here and so are the riders.
As the changing conditions continue to be a factor, the intensity of the competition gets cranked up. The riders now face elimination. When we come back, we'll meet Oregon fan favorite and Blowsion team rider Darren Anderson. He is one reason why the sport continues to grow. We'll have that, plus we'll narrow down our field on the way to the final.
Blowsion 2012!
Welcome back to the Blowsion Surf Slam in Pacific City, Oregon. And we're right on the beach, and that is a good thing, especially if you know how to get around the beach when you're not intended to be in the water. This guy certainly has a good game plan, while others aren't so fortunate. There were more than a few tows that took place throughout the weekend, and you always have to have your eye on the sneaker waves. And if you're from Oregon, well, it's really no big deal. You go with the flow. And one rider that has that down is Darren Anderson. Darren's one of the really good guys in the sport, and the sport is lucky to have him. There's no doubt that he is a fan favorite.
It's something I've heard kind of through the past events. A lot of people get into the sport and they feel like they need to do exactly what they have to do to win. And if we didn't have the fans, there is no sport. So it took a pretty big nosedive earlier in the 80s and 90s, and it kind of fell off the map. And if we're trying to rekindle all the fans into this, and if you don't get them involved, there just won't be anything left. So that's my main thing. I go out there, I try to go as big as I can, I try to go as crazy as I can, and everybody loves that. And you can't not. It's just everybody likes to see big air. They like to see wipeouts. They like to see crashes, unfortunately for me. But that's just where it is. That's the base level that you got to start with.
Big crashes do occasionally happen, and in Darren's case, it happened in the qualifying round when his face slammed into his handlebars on a backflip. Darren busted up his teeth and took stitches to his chin, but still was motivated enough to continue. After all that, I asked why.
It started with just thinking about it through the night. I take this place serious out here. We never ride alone out here. The Oregon coast is a treacherous place, so you got to really take it seriously. I just wanted to make sure physically that I didn't hurt enough that I was going to put myself in jeopardy. As I mentioned before, I've got a family. I've got 2 awesome kids and a wife, and people that rely on me. So you just can't mess around on that. I love this sport and I'll do anything for it, but you have to set a stopping point, you know, in a little bit. So when I woke up that next morning, I've really just been taking some ibuprofen to kind of keep the swelling down. Didn't take my pain pills because I wanted to make sure if I was going to go, have a clear head. So and I just woke up feeling good, and I knew I had a lot of people out here. This is my hometown. This is where we ride every weekend. So I knew I had a lot of support out here, and I didn't want to let anybody down, especially Johnny, who's with Blowsion, who's done so much for me. And it's once a year that you get to come out to an event like this. It's ridiculous for us. It's so awesome to be a part of it. So, you know, I felt good enough and just went for it. Said we'll take it one round at a time, and as long as I can get through, I'm good.
Darin did take it one round at a time, and he found himself advancing with every heat all the way to the semifinals. More of that in just a minute, but first, how about the amateur final? Two great riders in Wesley Krautkramer and Randy Lawler went head-to-head in challenging conditions. Even in wetsuits, the water at 48 degrees took some time getting used to. These two wave riders threw down everything they had, and it proved to be a great final. The conditions from the day before changed quite a bit. The high surf subsided, which gave way to the wave riders surfing on the inside swell. Remember that 50% of the score is made up of wave riding skills. The judges had their hands full breaking down each rider's score. Both Randy and Wesley pushed hard in this 10-minute final, constantly on the throttle and wrestling with the changing surf. Each rider demonstrated that they had what it took to reach the final. In the end, Wesley Krautkramer in yellow won the amateur freeride final. Prior to the amateur freeride final, the pro freeride semifinal took place. In the first semifinal, Jake Montadon went up against Zack Bright. The conditions once again challenging and constantly changing. The surf was not as big, so the riders definitely had to pick their spots in this 10-minute semi. When it was all said and done, the rider advancing was Zack Bright.
Man, it's hard. I say it every time, it's tough out there. I mean, when the swell comes in, it was crazy. Right when the green flag went out, it just died. It was like, oh, great. So just trying to do a lot of surfing because Jake's a really, really good surf rider. So I was trying to keep that in mind and keep busy and try and knock out some tricks. So I hope it worked.
Oh, it definitely worked for Zack. And in the other semifinal, Taylor Curtis would go head-to-head with Darren Anderson. This would be a great semi, with both riders attacking the swell with everything they had. Darren, accustomed to his home turf, let it fly. And for Taylor, he held nothing back. As the more time went by, the more comfortable he appeared to be in his quest of reaching the main event. In overcast conditions with less than desirable visibility, it would be Taylor Curtis advancing to the final.
I'm excited. I can't wait. I'm getting more and more warmed up as the day goes on, and figuring out how to work with this Oregon surf, and just trying to stay in the ski right now. It's still bumpy out there, but there's a few waves here and there, and a couple clean sections on the inside, so we'll try to work with that.
The pro wave riding finals of the Blowsion Surf Slam are set, as Taylor Curtis will go head-to-head with Zack Bright. We'll have that and more, but as we take you to a break, here are some highlights from the IJSBA Moto Surf Racing Finals. The Blowsion Surf Slam from Pacific City, Oregon is being brought to you by Jetanetics, the science of racing, quality and reliability. By K&S Kuwait. And also by our friends at H2H McGraw Insurance. Save money on the real deal. Welcome back to the Blowsion Surf Slam. Without a doubt, one of the riders to watch coming into this event along the Oregon coast was Taylor Curtis. His arrival in the two-man final coming up is no surprise. Earlier, I had an opportunity to sit down with Taylor, and I asked him about the progression of this amazing action sport that is now limitless by the machines and the riders.
One thing is the equipment. Our equipment has came so far in the last 5 years, and it's allowing us to put these things in parts of the wave that's more like surfing. We can put them on steeper sections. We can come out of the steep sections. We can put it in the pit, more like surfing. They're more agile in the air, which is allowing these guys to do freestyle motocross tricks. It's allowed me to do more progressive surfing tricks, and it's like a whole new ball game now.
The boys and their toys certainly have fun, and don't kid yourself, them getting good is no accident. This sport is not easy to master.
It's very hard. It's similar to surfing, it's similar to motocross, but when you go out in conditions like here in Oregon, when it's so brutal and rugged and the sections aren't super clean, it's hard, and it shows the true colors who can really ride the ski.
Taylor is one of those guys, and going into the final, what is a good run?
Well, you want to put all your tricks into 6 minutes. You want to go out there and do all your variations of jumps, and you want to come in and surf as many waves as you can, and wave selection is huge.
Taylor laid out a pretty good picture as to what to expect as the final is ready to get underway. His opponent, the Oregon Coast, and Zack Bright.
Oh, dude, I'm just going to go have fun right now. Yeah.
The 10-minute final pitted two athletes that represent the sport as true ambassadors, and for Taylor Curtis, he wasted little time in throwing down a huge backflip. He then mixed it up on an inside wave with a 360. For Zack Bright, he took his oceanside surf riding skills inside as well, getting the best out of this wave. The swell had dropped and Zack did his best to throw down a backflip on an inside wave, and then he had better luck on this barrel roll. Taylor, sticking to his game plan, swung into a nice wave, staying on the throttle just ahead of the break, racking up surf riding points. Zack launched himself but came in a little too steep, burying the nose of the ski. Zack then threw down a very nice one-footed backflip. But how about Taylor Curtis getting big air and staying in the flow? Taylor then gets in this nice 360 he planned, and with that, he nailed down the win as Taylor Curtis locked up the Blowsion Surf Slam. Congratulations goes out to both our finalists, Taylor Curtis and also Zack Bright. They certainly left everything they had on the Oregon coast. It was truly an amazing event, and we're already looking forward to next time. On behalf of the fine folks at the Blowsion Surf Slam, I'm Paul Higgins, saying so long from Pacific City, Oregon. Thank you so much for watching.